This is the Obedient Church of God, broadcasting worldwide on the internet from theworldtomorrow.org.
I can tell by your eyes that you've probably been crying forever.
Yes, Father has been crying for 6,000 years because you're so disobedient.
And the stars in the sky don't mean nothing to you. They're a mirror.
Genesis 1:14, lights will mark days, not phony international datelines.
Talk about it, how you broke my heart. If I stay here just a little bit longer, if I stay here, won't you listen to my heart? If I stand all alone,
Yes, the Obedient Church of God is standing all alone. It's the only congregation in the whole world that doesn't move God's Sabbath day to Friday with a phony international dateline.
in the sky,
God's words mean nothing to you. Lights will mark days. You can't even get the first book of the Bible right.
talk about it, how you broke my heart. If I stay here just a little bit longer, if I stay here, won't you listen to my heart?
Won't you listen to his Bible? It's written all out there for you. Today is New Month Day, Ezekiel 46:3, but your ministers will find a way to weasel around worshiping God. Well, that magnificent horn section ushers in the broadcast today. Bonjour, Pretty France, vive. Good afternoon to the East Coast, New York City, and good morning to the West Coast. Yes, Los Angeles. Perfect time for your spiritual feeding today on God's New Month Day, October 26th. This man watch.
If I stay here just a little bit longer, if I stay here, won't you listen to my
Yes, indeed. Why wouldn't you listen to God's Bible? Everything's in there telling you what is the best way to live. Your ministers who have God's Bible, they twist it. They twist it left, right, and center. And they find excuses. You know, Christ was beaten to death. Yeshua was beaten to death. Your ministers don't even want to show up for a day of worship. Too much trouble. Oh, it's in the millennium. Yeah, we'll all be worshiping on New Month Day in the millennium. Yeah, and they were all worshiping, you know, in David's day. and indeed up into the 1st century, but for some reason your ministers got it into their head that you don't have New Month Day from the 1st century to the 21st century. But then you do have it in Isaiah 66 when the millennium is running. And you do have it, when David is there. But no, not in our time, eh? Damn lying ministers. Well, we'll go over that and we'll rebut the ministers' stupid arguments against New Month Day. That's clearly commanded, Ezekiel 46:3. And we'll take their argument right apart and show them for the foolishness that they are portraying, their convoluted ideas. Why, are they too busy to celebrate, worship God on New Month Day? They're too busy, eh? Got other things to do. Well, the new moons are stated in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and they're stated, don't let anyone judge you why you are keeping them. And then the stupid minister tries to turn it around and says, oh, that's don't judge you so you don't have to keep them. No, that's not what it means, because in the 1st century the people were keeping the new moons, and people were judging them as to why they were keeping the new moons. In Colossians 2 states, don't let anybody judge you why you are keeping them, but your lying devil ministers turn it around the other way. They're all deceived by the devil. Just look at Psalm 104:19. It tells you he appointed the moon for the seasons. So you're going to start the moon a day late, a day early, average it with a hell too damn averaging calendar? Damn averaging calendar. Damn, D-A-M-N, averaging calendar. It's damnable. You can't average your appointments with the President of the United States any more than you can average your appointments with God and the Father of the universe. Well, we'll go over that. Their asinine arguments. And we'll go over the asinine statements of other ministers who regarding the Ebola and sending troops into Africa and then bringing the troops back and saying, I can't understand how come they're putting out troops for Ebola. Don't they know they're going to come back with Ebola? Of course they know, you dunce. They're doing it deliberately. Deliberately. You were told in 2007 this is a polyarchy. This is not a democracy. This is run by a bunch of elites, a shadow government who put up 2 candidates for you that you do not select, that you do not select, that you do not select. You did not select George Bush. You did not select John Kerry. You did not select Bill Clinton, nor any of the other candidates you ever voted for. You don't select anybody. You get 2 of the same team, and then you get to elect one of the 2. It's a polyarchy. God gave the blessings to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but he gave the leadership of this world to Satan. Now get it through your head. This is the devil's world, and you don't participate in the devil's elections. You're being fooled again. Since 2007 you've been told it's a polyarchy and you still haven't got it through your head yet. What'll it take? What does it take? Well, there's only one explanation. God chose the stupidest ministers, deliberately, the stupidest ministers, in order that he, God, could be shown to be behind the truth. Because any minister that's so stupid he can't figure out that this is a polyarchy and it doesn't matter who you vote for after you've been told for 7, 8 years, well, that fulfills the scriptures that God's going to choose the stupid of the world to shame the wise. That's right. So that's why you've got all these stupid ministers. But then there comes the Romans 9:28 work. The short work of restoring all things. And that's what we are. We're the Romans 9:28 work of restoring all things. I can't help it God chose me. I can't help it we've restored the Sabbath day to Saturday, to the seventh day in half the world, proven by our congregation. And any minister that says we haven't restored anything is a damnable liar. And he's breaking the 9th commandment, because we got 200 people in Pakistan that wait till tomorrow to celebrate New Month Day, and they waited from our Sabbath day the next day till the sun went down in their area before they celebrated the Sabbath day. And we have associates in Australia, New Zealand, and the Philippines who wait. Yes, we have restored God's Sabbath day. And if you say we don't, you're a damnable liar. And we restored the 4 fasts of the Lord. And we restored Deuteronomy 16:16. 3 times a year you should appear before God at a feast site. That's what your Bible says. So welcome to the obedient Church of God, not to your disobedient churches. And since we're obedient, this is a solemn feast day. Yeah, on your new moon and your solemn feast day, blow on the trumpet. So here's the magnificent shofar prophetico, following God's word, where it clearly says in the scriptures that you are to blow the trumpet on New Month Day. Could it be any clearer than that? Can you understand words? Can you understand Psalm 81? Can you understand it? Blow on the trumpet. Sound the drum on your solemn feast day. You see, David had the Kiddush, had the feast, and he had it the night before. He didn't show up because Saul would kill him. And then they had it during the daylight portion. So, another rediscovered truth for you. They had 2 Kiddushes. Yeah, they had one in the evening once the moon was sighted. Then they had another big dinner, the daylight portion. So there's a new truth for you. We have 2 Kiddushes now, like David did, like King Saul did. We have one in the evening, then we have another big meal in the daytime. It's in the Bible. It was for 2 days. Why wouldn't you? You're too busy? You're too busy to appear before the Lord? You're too busy to have another Kiddush? Look, you've got to learn to be like a little child and just follow along and not have your own damnable heresies of never learning, never changing, and disregarding God's new month day. So we will have shofar prophetico to blow on the trumpet. Sound will be heard over the whole earth. Call to assembly. Call to assembly. Call to assembly, but you won't assemble. So, God's going to send out to the Gentiles instead of the house of Israel, because nobody came to his new month day. Ezekiel 46:3, you shall worship him. And you say, no, I won't. I won't worship God. No, I'm not showing up. Why? Are you too busy? You're not teachable. You're not like a little child, because you're saying you're not showing up. That's what you're saying. You say, no, I won't. Yeah? Well, I've got news for you. Into the tribulation you go. Well, now that you've been admonished let's go into the throne room before Father. So all please rise. Face the north heavens where Father, El Shaddai, and Yeshua are. Raise your arms in praise. Bow your head in humility and close your eyes in sincerity. Mighty Father, El Shaddai, we come before you on your new moon day as your obedient church. We are admonishing and chastising all the other ministers who do not obey. Let your will be done. Let this be a witness against them. Yeshua himself will deal with the sword of his word, and out of his mouth, Yeshua's mouth, comes a sharp sword. So help us use the words of your Bible as a sharp sword, like Yeshua did, to wake up these belligerent people, these belligerent Israelites, who just refuse to follow and ignore and go their own way. Father, be with our brethren in Pakistan, the 200 plus of them that are following, that are going your way, that do wait for the sun to go down. Please be with them and protect them in a very dangerous area. We ask you now to lead and guide this service. Pour out your Spirit on the hearing and on the speaking, and especially on those you call to understand when the videotapes go out on the internet. Father, we put this all in your hands as a Romans 9:28 work. No one else is doing it. No one else has restored your Sabbath day to the seventh day in half the world. No one else has restored your 3 feasts in Deuteronomy 16:16. No one else has restored your 4 fasts of all the offshoot churches of God. Therefore, please bless the obedient church of God. Bless the members. Help us do your will. Help this work go forward as you see fit. Please guide this work, Father. Guide the obedient church of God and what to do next. Now turn this service over to your hands and ask it all in Yeshua HaMashiach's holy righteous name, our soon arriving King of the world, who will rule with a rod of iron. Amen. Yeah, I haven't killed anyone yet. Jesus is going to kill 200 million on his first day on the job. How do you like that? Yeah. Going to slay ministers with the sword of his word. Now I promised you Psalm 81. So remain standing. Turn to page number 62 in the worldwide hymnals, because you don't have the proper hymnal even from 1934, before all the words were watered down. So here is our hymnal, beautiful fuchsia color for camera 1, for camera 2. It has words that aren't watered down, but you don't have that hymnal, so you're going to have to use the old Worldwide Church of God hymnal. Follow along. Give your offering to God, which is the fruit of your lips. You don't give animal sacrifices, but you do give the fruit of your lips. So praise the Eternal. Praise Him. You're praising Him. If you're not going to praise Him, that goes on your record. And then on Judgment Day, He can ask you, well, why didn't you praise me? Why didn't you praise the Eternal with a psalm? Sing to the God of Jacob. Why didn't you? Why didn't you raise your chorus? Why didn't you make a joyful noise? Why didn't you? Why didn't you? Why didn't you? See, it's all on your head. We're the obedient church of God. We are stating the truth, teaching you to obey. Therefore, sing out. Since this is New Moon Day, oh, come and let us worship Him. Hymn number 72. Oh, come and let us worship Him. And all the rest are so deceived by the devil, they don't want to come and worship God. They'll have an excuse. Well, God will go out to the Gentiles, not to the house of Israel. So, oh, come and let us in songs to God our cheerful voices raise. This is the fruit of your lips. This is your offering. This is how you turn God's heart, Father's heart, towards you. Just like children singing to their father, the Father's heart would be turned towards you. But you're not even here to sing. You've got your own ways. Well, those of us who are here will sing. And we will have Father's heart turned toward us. And we will be in the place of safety while you're going to be going through the tribulation for being a disobedient brat. Worshipped Him by singing out. Very important. This is a worship service. You get one more chance. Praise His name. Praise His name. Psalm 135, hymn number 101. Hallelujah. Praise God's name. And if you're on the videotape, I suspect that you will want to sing out on the videotape later if you're listening to this broadcast, or you're just going to sit there like a lump. You've got a voice. Sing out. Praise God's name. That's your service. That's your offering, the fruit of your lips.
Praise the Lord, for He is good.
since it is a new month day, let's have one more hymn. Lord, I will praise thee. Page 104, Psalm 138. Because we're on the theme of praise and worship. For you who are not here, when you listen to this tape, we've got one more song on here for you. Instead of 3, we got 4. That's one more hot coal heaped on your head. If you don't repent and sing out. So here comes another hot coal on your head if you don't sing out. Psalm 138, page 104, Lord, I will praise thee. And if you don't sing out, what you're saying is, Lord, I won't praise you. It's either one or the other. Hope you sang out. Well, opportunity is gone now. Be seated. We, the obedient Church of God, are given the understanding of this world system. This world system is destined for collapse. And it's being done deliberately. Deliberately to bring in the New World Order. So don't be amazed at all the stupid things that your satanic politicians do. Because they're doing it deliberately. To crash the system. Deliberately. They are destroying the U.S. dollar. There's an executive order, NCO1. It'll make the U.S. dollar worthless. NCO1 will trigger a series of threats to your money in your bank. And it's done deliberately. NCO1, write that down. It's a nightmare that'll ransack the American way of life and put the final nails in the coffin of your retirement, liberty, and safety. Got an article here that I'm taking excerpts out of here. This crisis will affect every American, wealthy, middle class, and poor. It'll have devastating impact on your health, your business, your retirement income, whatever wealth you've accumulated over the last lifetime, years. It'll affect how and where you travel. It'll prevent you from getting high-paying jobs. You'll get turned away by foreign banks and by your pension fund. Your bank will close your account without notice, resulting in losses due to early withdrawal that you had no control over. This is NCO01, Executive Order. This is what's happening to China's people. China's people. And that'll make the US dollar as worthless as a napkin. We are going down the tubes. And it's all deliberately done. This new order will create a series of threats that can wipe out everyone's wealth, anything you've saved. And these threats are already in motion. The American public, just doesn't realize what's going on. And even if they tried to listen to their newscasts, your newscasts lie to you. Obamacare was supposed to cut health care costs. It doubled them. Everything you're being told is a lie. So you can't get your news off of your television. And your television has a flicker rate. You shouldn't be watching the television. You should throw it away. Because it has a flicker rate that's set to dumb you down and put you into an alpha rhythm so that you agree with all the stupidity that's being stated. You've got to realize that even as Christians, we're going to, at Sarai, we're going to be going through these hard times. We've been dealt a fatal blow with this Chinese executive order. That'll double the USA's current debts and send inflation to soaring heights. You go to the store and you watch how all the packages are smaller now. That's a fact. All the packages are smaller. And everything costs more. The purchasing power of the dollar in January 1913 was $1. You could buy, in 1913, $1's worth of goods. Today, in June 2009, your dollar's worth 4.6 cents. Well, that's why everything's so expensive. And you know that the cost of bread will go sky high to a day's wages. There'll be no more value to the dollar. And the financial system is already collapsing. It's all just fiat money being printed. And when it goes down, it'll go down quickly. That's right, it'll go down quickly. It'll go down in a month. I've read that in Hosea, that the system will go down in a month. And you say, some of you guys will say, well, don't worry, I've got a 401k retirement plan. Yeah? The government will confiscate your 401k, just like they did in Cyprus. Confiscating over 50% of your income, your bank money. The U.S. government is facing over a 1.22 trillion, 122 trillion unfunded liabilities. There's no way they can pay it. Every taxpayer would have to come up with $1 million, $1.07 million to cover that outstanding $122 trillion deficit. There is no hope. There is no hope. So your only hope is to get on board with the obedient Church of God so that you can be in the place of safety. Because there won't be 400 different churches in the place of safety all teaching something that's not in the Bible. Only ones that will be allowed in the place of safety will be those who are all of one mind, practicing the first century doctrines just as they were in the first century, with no additions, no deletions. Now, in that regard, then, we're going to rebut an article by Bob Thiel, who is against New Moon Day. That's what happens. Now, it's all cloaked, that, oh, well, you don't have to keep it. You can if you want to. But let me tell you something. When you say something that disagrees with the Bible, you're being controlled by the devil. Bear note, when you say things that disagree with the Bible, you are being controlled by the devil. And you think that's too strong? I'll give you too strong. Revelation 2:16. Jesus says he's going to make war with you. Jesus is going to make war with you. For Pergamon or any other church that refuses to repent, Jesus follows up with an or else statement. Or else I'm coming to you quickly, and I will make war against them with the sword of my mouth. Jesus is threatening you. That's right. And that's a promise. This is a threat and a promise. He doesn't say, everything's okay, I love you, there's unlimited grace, and unending forgiveness. He doesn't say that. He says, I'm coming to you quickly. And then he actually says, I will make war against them with the sword of my mouth. You see how it changes? From you to them, bear note. The change from you to them indicates that Jesus will not wage war on all Christians in the church marked by disobedience. Rather, he will severely judge those who are personally involved in tolerating theological compromise. 1 Corinthians 11, 27 to 34. Theological compromise. So that's what we've got going on here in Bob Thiel's arguments. Theological compromise. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 11, 27. Therefore, whoever eats and drinks of this cup in an unworthy manner will be guilty of the blood and body of the Lord, body and blood of the Lord. But let a man examine themselves. This is when you examine yourself. Let him eat of the bread and drink of the cup. So if you take your elements in an unworthy manner, you're drinking judgment on yourself. The unworthy manner is by you not discerning the Lord's words. Or you're wanting to have your own way, or you're twisting God's words, and then you're going to try to apply his sacrifice on you. Now, on the night of the Passover, this applies to people not being drunk and not being gluttonous or hungry and thinking of the matzah as food. Now, during the rest of the year, you are to examine yourself and to see that you are in the faith. That's in other chapters of the Bible. Now let's go into the problem here. You know, the church is a pillar, and pillars are supposed to hold things up. The obedient church is a pillar. It listens to the word of the Scripture. The obedient bride listens to the words of the Scripture. And we proclaim the words of the Scripture, and we don't delete them, and we don't ignore them. We have to teach you how to walk, because you don't know how to walk in all his ways. So you've got in the first century and in David's time, everyone was celebrating New Month Day. That's right, everyone was. It's in your Bible. Saul had 2 dinners. They were all celebrating it. But then all of a sudden, in the 1st century to the 21st century, your ministers are telling you not to. And then you end up in the millennium when God is telling you to. Look, God's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He's not going to take out the years from the 1st century to the 20th century, 21st century, and change his ways, and then put his ways back again. That would be ludicrous. God is faithful. God is faithful. But you are a sinner. Oh, but are you of God? 1 John 3:9. Whoever is born of God does not sin, does not make a habit of sinning. And the Netzerim church kept the new month days. So since this is the new month, let's go over this article by Bob Thiel. Its title is New Moons, Are monthly new moons observations required for Christians? What a convoluted, evil title. Are monthly new moon observations? We're not talking about observations. We're talking about worshiping God. And are they required for Christians? How convoluted. You know, is stopping sin required for Christians? Of course it is. Is the seventh-day Sabbath required for Christians? Yes, it is. It's right alongside the new moons. In Ezekiel 46:3, it's right alongside. So see how convoluted the title is? To slant the article right off the bat, to twist it. I'm really good at picking up things like that because I know how to make notes. And I know when someone is casting doubt on God's Bible by saying, new moons. Are monthly new moon observations required for Christians? Why didn't he say worship of God required for Christians? Starts out by saying, new moons are mentioned in the Old Testament and New Testament. New moons will also be observed in the future, Isaiah 66:23. But does that mean they must be observed by Christians today? Of course it does, you dunce! Because God's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Is everyone observing the new month day? Right in the time of David, right up to the New Testament church, 1st century, right through? the 1st century to the 21st century and then right through the millennium. God's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And watch out for any convoluted logic, because I know how to catch that. Now, since they're going to be in the millennium, I think that gives you a hint that you should be following them now. And he says, again he repeats, are new moons commanded observances for Christians? Let's look at what the Bible says. That's what he says. Then he switches it, gets you off topic and says, first, let's look at the major purpose of the moon. No, we're not going to first look at the major purpose. We're going to answer the question. Are new moons commanded observances for the Christian? Let's answer the question, Thiel. You asked the question. Let's answer it. Ezekiel 46:3 answers it without going off topic, without going off on a tangent. 46:3, likewise, the people of the land shall worship ... on the Sabbaths and the new moons. Don't go off topic. No, if God ever gives me the opportunity to debate some of these people, I'm not going to let them go off topic. Next big fallacy here. A new moon, quote, a new moon, he said, yada yada yada, occurs when the first visible crescent can be seen. In the Bible, he says, wrongly, it was normally observed on a calculated date. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was never observed on a calculated date in the Bible. No. Because the Jews, the Pharisees, observed 2 days. If they had a calculated date, they wouldn't be observing 2 days to make sure that they got the right date. It wasn't until 358 AD, 300 years later, that Hillel II put in his averaging calendar. So don't say in the Bible it was normally observed on a calculated date. That's a damn lie. It was observed for 2 days. See how you can be deceived as a minister? Now, Leviticus 23, he's saying the absence of them being specifically mentioned in Leviticus 23 indicates, to me at least, to him at least, that these observances are not required now for God's people. Oh, is that so? So what you're saying is because everything in the Bible isn't repeated in Leviticus 23, that you could ignore everything else in the Bible. That's right, you can ignore everything else in the Bible because it's not in Leviticus 23. Well, you can't, because these are assemblies. They are assemblies. And they are referred to in the same context as the Sabbaths, as the seventh-day Sabbath. So let's read it in the context of the seventh-day Sabbath. And the seventh-day Sabbath isn't done away with. Start in verse 1 of Ezekiel 46. Thus says the Lord God, the gateway of the inner court that faces toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it shall be opened, and on the day of the new moon it shall be opened. Why? So the people can come in on the Sabbath, so the people can come in on the new moon. 2. The prince shall enter by way of the vestibule of the gateway from the outside and stand by the gatepost. The priest shall prepare his burnt offering and his peace offering. He shall worship at the threshold of the gate. Then he shall go out, but the gate shall not be shut, not be shut until evening. Likewise, the people of the land shall worship at the entrance to this gateway before the Lord on the Sabbaths and the new moons. There you have it. Do you cross out Leviticus 46:3 because it's not in? Then you cross out Ezekiel 46:3 because it's not in Leviticus? Can't put the whole Bible into Leviticus. You know, you go back, if you want other scriptures, you'd have to toss out Numbers 28:11. Numbers 28:11, where at the beginning of your months, you're supposed to be blowing the trumpet and offering sacrifices. Today we offer the sacrifice of the fruit of our lips. You'd have to throw out Numbers 28:11, Numbers 10:10. And you cannot throw out pieces of the Bible, of God's Bible. Not one jot will depart. So Ezekiel 46:3 will not depart until heaven or earth pass away. Not one jot or tittle. Now the new moons were used to give sacrifices, and today we use the new moons to give the sacrifice of our lips. And everything fits in perfectly. Next point, regarding you shouldn't work or buy or sell on the new moon. Amos 8:4-5. Here we have Thiel twisting it again. He says, although there is no command to cease from work on new moon day, what? What does Amos 8:4-5 says? Hear this, you who swallow up the needy and make the poor of the land fail, saying, when will the new moon pass that we may sell grain, and the Sabbath that we may sell wheat? It's rhetorical. It's rhetorical. Point is, you're not supposed to twist things around and say there's no command to cease from work on new moon day, when Amos 8:4-5 says, when will the new moon pass that we may sell grain? You're supposed to be like, here's a lesson for you. You're supposed to be like a little child, you know, like a 2-year-old, 1.5-year-old before the terrible 2s hit. And a little child, 1.5-year-old, looks up to his father and does everything his father says. You're supposed to be like a little child, and unless you're like a little child, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. Now that's pretty clear. You won't be in the kingdom of God if you start arguing and debating God. And what have you got to do that's so special that you can't attend New Month Day? Well, you're deceived by the devil. Then he says, although this scripture suggests, it doesn't suggest. Quit twisting it. It states When will the moon pass that we may sell grain? But he says, although this suggests that the selling may have been prohibited on new moons, there is no other scripture in the entire Bible that suggests this. So what, Thiel? You're going to ignore that scripture because you can't find another scripture? You're going to ignore Amos 8, 4-5. You're going to ignore Psalm 104. You're going to ignore Numbers. You're going to ignore Ezekiel 46, 3. Oh, he says, so watch out when you're reading what ministers write. You've got to analyze what they're saying. You can't ignore one jot of the scripture. You cannot ignore one iota of the scripture because you can't see another scripture that parallels it. Well, I'm going to turn this one around on Thiel here because they have dealt treacherously with the Lord. Yeah. Well, look who's dealing treacherously except Thiel. And the reason I'm hammering him is because he's got a big following now. So let's just clarify a few things. After the resurrection, people will worship on the new moons. He says that. Isaiah 66:23. That's when Christ is ruling. And they'll present offerings. So then he, after telling people that they don't have to worship God on New Month Day, he twists it back again and says, well, is it wrong to worship God? Duh! Is it wrong to worship God on the New Month Day? That's not the question. The question is that you're commanded to worship Him on the New Month Day and on the Sabbath. So you'd better scratch out Sabbaths. You'd better scratch out Sabbaths because they're right in the same sentence as the new month. I hope that clarifies it. I don't want to be any harder on Thiel than I have to be. But I hope that clarifies it. That you've got to watch what ministers say. And just because they're right on other topics doesn't mean they're right on all topics. Because if they don't speak exactly according to every word in this Bible, they're half full of oil. They're half full of oil. They're part of the 5 foolish virgins because they're not using all of the Bible. That's why they're cast out. God anticipated this, that people would make a spiritual shipwreck out of their faith. And this is a good thing to be telling Thiel because at least he knows that he should repent, and that maybe he will. But every word of God counts. Every word of God counts. Bear note, every word of God's counts. All the food in his Bible, all of it counts. You don't take some and throw it on the floor and stomp on it with your feet on New Month Day when you should be worshiping God. You're working and you're buying and selling and telling other people that it's just fine to work on New Month Day or to buy and sell. And you're trampling God's word. You're trampling God's word, Thiel. I hope that wakes you up. And what's so difficult about celebrating New Month Day? That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be worshiping, not working and not buying and selling. We want to see Thiel in the kingdom. So you've got to learn to keep the new month day the way the first century church did. And the way they did was not with an averaging calendar, because they had 2 days. 2 days. And if they had an averaging calendar, they'd only have 1 day. Because there aren't 2 days in the averaging calendar. There's 1 day in the averaging calendar which they should not be using. Now we, the obedient Church of God, go by the actual crescent, and the actual crescent can be cited now, and with one click of your computer you can see the witnesses' names who cited the crescent. Therefore, since it is cited, we don't have 2 days. We don't have 2 days. We have 1 day. Now, evening and the morning were the first day. So I even suspect that Saul may have only had 1 day, but he had a dinner. He had 2 dinners. So we discovered truth for you. I'll postulate this, that when the crescent was sighted, they all rejoiced and had dinner and wine. And then they declared it as new moon day. And then the daylight portion, after they woke up, they had another bash. Yeah. Because it's a day of worship, a day of rejoicing. So I believe if they cited it, which they did, there would be no reason to have 2 days, because then they knew what day it was. Therefore, they had 2 dinners, one when they cited it, and one the following day when they were still happy about it. We are a first century Nazarite church. We do everything that's in the Bible. And we know that the first century church was keeping the new month day. And we know that Colossians 2:16 has been used backwards to turn it around its meaning. And in the first century, when Colossians 2:16 was written, it meant don't let anybody judge you as to why you are keeping the new month day. Are keeping it. Don't let anyone judge you as to why you are. Nowadays, the lying ministers turn around it and turn it around and say, don't let anyone judge you as to why you're not keeping it. That's not what the Colossians meant, because it says Sabbath. Don't let anyone judge you as to why you're keeping the Sabbath. Don't let anyone judge you why you're keeping the new moon. So let's get it straight. Colossians 2:16. So let no one judge you in food or drink or regarding a festival, a holy day festival, or a new moon, or a Sabbath. Don't you judge me because I'm keeping the Sabbath. Don't you judge me because I'm keeping the new moon. Don't you judge me because I'm keeping a festival. And don't you dare turn it around backwards and say it means don't judge me because you're not keeping it. Because the first century church kept the Sabbath, and it says don't let anyone judge you ... regarding a Sabbath. Keeping a Sabbath. Well, that tears that argument apart. It's don't let anyone judge you as to why you are keeping the new moon. Now, interesting enough, he's got quotes from Herman Hay. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Herman Hay. He was the great guru, thought of as the great guru, but he had to pull his book on world history, which was supposed to be the greatest book ever written, because it had so many errors in it. And it became an embarrassment to the Worldwide Church of God. So Herman Hayes' book on world history, what was it called, the greatest book ever of world history, had to be pulled because it had so many errors in it. So referencing Herman's Hay in, what do we got, the Good News Volume 10, Number 1, 1961, Hay got a lot of things wrong. Hay got a lot of things wrong, and he wrote a lot of errors. I would not count on Herman Hay. Calling him Dr. Hay, he didn't have anything from a bona fide university. He got his doctorate from Ambassador College. And the people in Ambassador College weren't even qualified to judge his paper for a Dr. Hay, for him being considered or given a doctorate. Because there was no one qualified in Ambassador College to even adjudicate whether that paper was valuable, correct, or to peer review it. Oh, and talking about peer review, everything should be able to stand up to peer review. That's review by other ministers, review by your colleagues. You know, in my business, we've had booklets that we've put out, and they've been subject to peer review. So if you can't stand up to peer review, you're in big trouble. Because you're supposed to write whereby every word can be substantiated and backed up. Or else you're heading for a spiritual shipwreck. Now remember, I told you this during the feast. And every person in the room needs to understand this. No one sins in a vacuum. Bear note, no one sins in a vacuum. Your sins, your mistakes, your errors have consequences. And you will always reap what you sow. Galatians 6:9. So when a believer allows his life to become shipwrecked in certain areas, there are terrible consequences to pay. There are consequences to pay for that. Chastisement is assured. Hebrews 12, 6 to 12. So this is going out to all you ministers, and I'm starting to preach to all the ministers now, because they're the ones that are leading the sheep astray. So it's no sense me arguing with the members of different denominations, offshoot churches of God, because they are just being led astray by their minister. Now you're going to be scourged by me, or you're going to be scourged by Christ. Which one do you want? Hebrews 12, verse 6. For whom the Lord loves, he chastens, and scourges every son who he receives. Now this is, Paul speaking here to the Hebrews. My son, do not despise the chastening of God, nor be discouraged when you are rebuked by him. For whom the Lord loves, he chastens, and scourges every son whom he receives. Now I can't help it that I'm privy to this information. That's because no one else, none of the other offshoot congregations are proclaiming the Sabbath day on the seventh day in defiance of the phony international dateline. We are restoring all things. Go to our internet site, theworldtomorrow.org. That's pretty easy to remember. And you will see 7 salient points of our restoring the truths of God that other churches aren't. So we are doing it, the restoration. I wish all the ministers were. but they're not. Now, with Paul's telling Timothy that he's giving Timothy a charging Timothy. Now, this is important. This is verse 18. This is our remedy. We were talking about spiritual shipwrecks during the feast because we don't want you to have a spiritual shipwreck. So Paul lays out ways for Timothy, giving him a charge. That's a military term. Refers to issuing a command. So Paul is telling Timothy he has the responsibility to obey the Bible. He has a duty to listen and carry out the orders of the Bible. This is the same for you. You know, your first step in walking with God is that you should have willingness to obey when something's revealed to you, and not to try to twist it or ignore it or to belittle it. You should be grateful that it's pointed out to you that the new month day is a perfect day for you to worship on. And it's commanded to just as the Sabbath. You should take that as a blessing that you heard that. Now you've got a mandate to obey God, to obey the Word, to obey the Word of God. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. You've got a mandate that you have to obey. Let's see what James has to say. What James has to say about obeying. James, being the brother of Yeshua, can be trusted to have his head on straight. Yes. So go to James 1, start in verse 22. Be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. So you have Ezekiel 46:3. You shall worship on New Month Day. You be a doer of that. Don't start weaseling your way out of it. Be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. So I'm putting this on the line for all you ministers. You're deceiving yourselves by not following Ezekiel 46:3, which says you shall worship on the new month days. You're trying to find ways to weasel around it. Be doers of the word. 23, for if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer of Ezekiel 46:3, he is a man observing his natural face in a mirror, for he observes himself, goes away, and immediately forgets what kind of man he looks like, what kind of man he was. See, you can't just read Ezekiel 46:3 and then go away as if it's a mirror and that you observed Ezekiel 46:3 like a mirror, and then you go away and you immediately forget that it says you shall, S-H-A-L-L. You have got to be a doer of the word. Now, you're supposed to be fighting in a Christian army. You're supposed, the people sing onward Christian soldiers. Well, this Christian life is a battleground for the truth. And if you're not fighting for every word of God, every jot and tittle, you're just fooling around on a playground then. You're not enlisted in the Lord's army if you're not fighting for every jot and tittle of this Bible. If you're in His army, you fight for every jot and tittle that's in His book. Christian life is a battleground, and most of the time it's battling against ministers who don't follow the Bible. That's why I had to go through 7 churches and finally set up the Obedient Church of God, and it was set up for me. I didn't even have any choice about it, because it started on November the 29th of 2008, and there was a big conjunction in the sky there to mark the event. I didn't cause that, and I didn't disfellowship myself. I was disfellowshipped for not celebrating Turkey God Day. And the night of the disfellowship was particularly the Sabbath of November the 29th, before sundown, 2008, when there was a conjunction. That should say something. Not to mention that I saw 3 meteorites in the sky that came past me, 2 that came down in front of me, and that 1 went above me, to underline it. When I said the words in prayer to Father, will this work be done with a power and a vengeance? And I started out by saying, oh, Father, your word is sharper than a 2-edged sword. And whoosh, a meteorite comes down like a sword in front of me. Then I say, that mean your work's going to be done with a power, with a vengeance. Wham! Another meteorite comes down in front of me. Well, I don't want to get hit by a meteorite, so I said, well, thank you, Father. I'm going inside now. Thanks for showing me. And immediately a meteorite flashes across the sky from the west to the east, heading towards Jerusalem. Doesn't come down, as a great big underline across the sky. I didn't do that. So this work will be done with a power and a vengeance. And by the way, when I ended up here in Tennessee, after being kicked out by a court order out of OMAC, yeah, you're not supposed to sue your brother, are you? Not supposed to sue your brother, but you can get a court order, have your brother served, kicked out. Well, I got kicked out. Court eviction. And I put a lot of money into that property to improve it, including 800 trees. Just alone are worth $800. Not to mention a garden that was 100 feet by 50 feet. And it took a whole week to dig the rocks out and pull the rocks out with a tractor and have 2 men working plus myself. Yeah, all that lost. I could have filed such a countersuit for religious persecution, but I didn't. So guess what? I ended up heading towards this feast site, which I always had in mind, in Tennessee, because it's magnificent here in the fall. It's like 80 above, 75 above for sure. And the days are beautiful. Best time of year ever. Perfect feast site. And when I get here, lo and behold, I see a door in the sky. And I mean a square door. I don't mean like a fuzzy door or a crooked door or some twisted door. I see a perfectly square door in the sky. I don't mention that very much, because I don't know what's going to happen next. But I know one thing. Disfellowshipped on the night of the conjunction, had 3 meteorites in the sky, confirming that this work will be done with a vengeance, and it's sharper than a 2-edged sword. And then when I get over here to Tennessee, a door opens in the sky. Perfectly square door. And it was big. It was big. It looked like, if you're looking at the trees, above the trees, it was taller than the tree in comparative size. And the tree's, like 40 or 50 feet high. And then projected in the sky, there's this great open door. Saying that God will provide a way. Now I hope someone else would start preaching the exact doctrines of this Bible so I wouldn't have to. Because, you know, heroes are just a sandwich. There's an expression. A hero is just a sandwich. You know, you don't need to make all this confrontation in your life. But if nobody's doing it, someone has to do it. Wish someone else would do it. So there we've got your rebuttal to that 3-page article by Thiel. Full of errors, twisted and convoluted. The Netzerim, the Nazarenes, the Church of Paul, celebrated New Month Day the same way we celebrate New Month Day. Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed from David's day to the first century church to the millennium. Just the elements have changed. Now it's the fruit of our lips instead of the animal sacrifices. Nothing's changed. Just the elements have changed. This should be rooted in your mind as a memorial of every word of God that the obedient Church of God is pronouncing. Should be a memorial. These broadcasts should be a memorial in your mind. And depending on what happens in the world before the famine of the Word, if God provides the funds, we're just going to put out these broadcasts in such a manner that they cannot be ignored. That they cannot be ignored. And we don't want a membership. You know, memberships are generally a lot of trouble. People have a lot of personal problems, they have a lot of children problems, and all the rest. So we'll help where we can. We'll help where we can. But this is a short work of Romans 9:28, and the time is short. Now let's go to Hosea 5, verse 6. Just in passing. And see what Hosea has to say. I'll give you a hint. It's a play on words. It basically says a new moon will devour them. A new moon will devour them. Well, you're getting, Thiel is getting devoured by a new moon today. Yeah. Hopefully there'll be repentance. But I'll tell you the full meaning of all this. Hosea 5, verse 6. Verse 7. 6 and 7. With their flocks and herds they shall go seek the Lord, but they shall not find him. He has withdrawn himself from them. Why? Why did God withdraw himself from the church people? 7. They have dealt treacherously with the Lord. They have begotten pagan children, pagan practices, ignoring God's Ezekiel 46:3. Begetting pagan turkey god day, pagan mother goddess day, pagan sky father's day, the longest day of the year leading to it. Now a new moon shall devour them, and their heritage. Pretty serious. just take it literally, but now I'll give you what it means in context. Then this is like a bear note for you, because this is the fall of America. And a new moon, here's a rediscovered truth, a new moon shall devour them. That means they'll be devoured in 30 days. They'll fall in 1 month. Israel, USA, Canada, Britain, Australia, New Zealand, etc. will all fall in 1 month. Now, this couldn't happen until Israel was a nation in 1948. They couldn't all fall in 1 month. He has withdrawn himself from them. They have dealt treacherously with the Lord, for they have begotten pagan children, pagan ways, pagan days, ignoring God's ways. Now a new moon shall devour them and their heritage. Verse 9, Ephraim shall be desolate in the day of rebuke. Very serious. That means laid waste. Among the tribes of Israel, I make known what is sure. So that means it's guaranteed. Ephraim, verse 11, Ephraim is broken in judgment, oppressed and broken in judgment. Why? Why is Ephraim, United States, oppressed and broken in judgment? Answer. Verse 11 answers it. Because he willingly walked by human precept. Now, I went over New Month Day and that article that Bob Thiel wrote, and he walked by human precept. And that's the answer in God's Bible, Hosea 5, verse 11. Ephraim is oppressed and broken in judgment. Why? Because he willingly walked by human precept. Therefore I will be to Ephraim like a moth. Well, what in the world does that mean? Well, what do moths do? Moths eat things up. Therefore I will eat up Ephraim like a moth eats it up. And to the house of Judah, Israel, like rottenness. And that's because Judah, the Jews, they're mostly Khazars. They're only 2% Jews of the bloodline of Judah. The rest are all Khazars. They're all Palestinians. It's the Palestinians against the Palestinians, because the Khazars are like the Palestinians. They're Arabs. So it's not the Israelites against the Arabs. It's Netanyahu, who's Polish, and Shimon Peres, who's Polish, and all the other Khazars that came from Khazaria, around the area of Poland, all the Khazar Arabs against the Palestinian Arabs. That's why to the house of Judah, like rottenness. There's another bear note for you of understanding. Because it is, Judah is rotten. It's a bunch of Khazars. Only 2% of the people are Jewish in terms of Hebrew. Now, we could give you a lot of understanding of the Bible if we didn't have to but spend so much time feeding milk every day, every broadcast. I have to give the rebukes because no one's changed yet. Well, shouldn't surprise us, 40 years in the spiritual wilderness and they still didn't repent. Didn't repent in the Old Testament, didn't repent in the New Testament from 1975 to 2015. 40 years in the spiritual wilderness, still not repenting. And remember, When you as a minister say something that challenges God's Bible or disagrees with God's Bible or casts an aspersion on God's Bible or takes something away from God's Bible, such as saying, oh well, yes, we realize that everyone celebrated New Moon Day in Israel up until the 2nd century, but then we decided that from 1000, 2000, from the 1st century up to 2000, we're not going to do it, and then we're going to do it again in the millennium, you know, in the 7000th year. Give your head a shake. Wake up, you're being controlled by the devil. So that God himself, he will make war with the ministers with the sword of my mouth. Revelation 2:16. That's for Pergamum. Coming quickly, and I will make war against them with the sword of my mouth. That couldn't be any stronger. You've got to deal with your sins of not following God's Bible, because Yeshua is going to come and make war with you. That means he will severely judge those who are personally involved in tolerating theological or practical compromise. So you examine yourself and see if you're in the faith or not. See if you're into Ezekiel 46:3, or you've got some excuse, some, fancy stepping excuse. Because he's going to judge you for tolerating theological compromise or practical compromise. We're going to stop there on admonishing you. We've taught you how to walk, and it's up to you now to walk in his ways. Since there's so much going on in the world right now, I decided that I should tell you what it all means. Okay, I've told you about Chinese order NC 01 that will destroy the US dollar. I haven't even told you about the Russian orders where Russians are setting up their own currencies and gold standards. I've mentioned that. But let's go with the biggest concern that's on everybody's minds right now in America. It's always on the news. Ebola. Well, today is the 26th. The last statistics I could get were up to October the 23rd. Nearly 5,000 deaths from Ebola. There are 4,922 deaths, probable, confirmed, and suspected. Oh yeah, and that includes one death in the United States and one in Mali, M-A-L-I. Not to mention the 2,705 deaths in Liberia. Shame. 926 in Guinea. Guinea, for those of you taking notes. 1,281 deaths in Sierra Leone. 8 deaths in Nigeria. So it's a health emergency. It's a health emergency. And the number of patients, they're not telling you this, but the number of patients are increasing more than they can handle them. Do you think that any city in the United States could handle the 2,705 cases in Liberia? No, they can't. The hospitals won't be able to handle the cases. There's no way. there's barely enough bed capacity, and then what are you going to do with all the other victims of the daily accidents, of the robberies, of the murders, and the car accidents? Just wait. Just wait. This is worse than you believe, than you're led to believe. So what's going to happen now is they're going to bring back the American troops into the United States that went to Africa, and they're going to deliberately spread the Ebola. Because the Georgia Guidestones state that 90% of the people should be killed. 90% of Americans should be killed. That's what your leaders say. If I put that on the back bumper of my car, I'd be arrested. But why is it on the Georgia Guidestones? Why aren't the people who put up the Georgia Guidestones arrested? Aha. And guess what? They've added another small block to the Georgia Guidestones. And on one face of the block it says 20, and the other face of the block it says 2014. Now, why would they take a block and not put 2014 right across the face of the block? I've got an analytical mind. And that struck me as odd. They've got it as a 90-degree angle. As soon as I get this piece of paper to cooperate, fold it 90 degrees, there you go. So on this side, they've got 20. On this side, they've got 14. Why? Why don't they just have it 2014 on one side? I got the answer for you. You ready for this one? Bear note. Because we're turning a corner on the block. See? The 20, around the corner to the 14. So if they get their way, devastation should break out still this year in 2014. 2014, because they put up a block, and they always like to predict what they're going to do. It's known as lesser magic. That's why George Bush had the children chanting before the aide whispered in his ear, into George Bush's ear, that a plane had hit the Twin Towers. 1 minute before, 5 minutes, 1 minute before, Georgie had it whispered in his ears. Georgie had the children chanting, "Kite must hit steel! Kite must hit steel! Kite must hit steel!" George is a Kabbalist. He was holding my pet goat upside down. He was casting a spell on America, having the children chant, "Kite must hit steel." But they don't show you that part. They just show you the part of the aide whispering in his ear that it was successful. The kite hit the steel. Because kite is a vernacular for a military vernacular for a radio-controlled plane. Look, all this is planned out, including Agenda 21, including the Ebola, population extermination. And it's going to turn the corner in 2014. In 2014. This is so important. I'm going to turn off the air conditioning. This is so important, I'm going to turn off the air conditioning. See, it was like 83 degrees here. It's beautiful here in the fall. We're turning the corner in 2014, according to the Georgia Guidestones, if they can get their Ebola off and running. They can't always get it up and running the way they want. Now, Agenda 21 is totalitarian control of the environment. And you are being polluted by the chemical trails, not only the Ebola, But you are being subjected to aluminum oxide, barium, benzene, all types of paper fibers. That's why the snow burned. They showed snow burning where people were putting, matches or lighters to it and there wouldn't be any water because they put fibers into the air. They put bacilli into the air, B-A-C-I-L-L-I, and mold, and Pseudomonas aeruginosa. That's a violent pathogen, virulent pathogen. Pseudomonas aeruginosa, A-E-R-U-G-I-N-O-S-A. I've dealt with that with my international pharmaceuticals. We've eradicated that. There's Pseudomonas fluorescens, F-L-O-R-C-N-S. There's this Leptomyces. They're even putting into the air the fiber disease called Morgellons, where you have these worms coming out of your skin. Well, we're able to address that also with our silver. But here's the point. They're killing you. They're killing you. They're bringing back Ebola from Africa in the troops in order to spread the Ebola in America. So don't you be so foolish to saying, why are they doing it? Why are they doing it? How can they be that foolish? They know exactly what they're doing. And who are the they? The they are the global elite, the shadow government, that where there's trillions of dollars missing from the budget, and you can't, and Rumsfeld says, oh, I don't know where the money went. Don't know where the money went. There's no record of it. No, it's the accounting office's fault. Yeah, they should have looked after it. And there's been no audit of Fort Knox. There wasn't any gold in Fort Knox. It was all given to China in order that China wouldn't crush us till the New World Order is ready. Here's the point. The Ebola is coming to kill you. Now why do they want to kill 90% of us? Bear note, there's got to be a reason. If you're a scientist, you got an inquiring mind. Why would they want to kill 90% of us? Just because they're meanies? Just because they're mean? Just because Satan tells them to? No, they don't do anything anybody tells them to. They always do what they want. I'm going to give you the reason why they're going to kill 90% of us. Here's your bear note. Put down why they will kill 90% of us. Answer. Because they don't have enough soldiers to subdue 90% of us. So they have to kill 90% of us by an epidemic, a pandemic, because it's a scientific fact, they don't have enough bullets to kill 90% of us. But if they can blame it on an epidemic, well, then they're off the hook. Then they can get away with killing 90% of us and not being held accountable. Not being held accountable. Now, the Ebola is patented by the Center of Disease Control. They've got about 30 different patents on the Ebola. It didn't just appear out of thin air. See if we got enough time here to tell you more. The human body responds to the multiple pronged attack by initiating a massive, intense inflammatory response, which actually damages your body even more. So what you've got to do is stop the inflammatory response. And that damage that it does has to be replaced by vitamin C, massive doses of vitamin C. Anyways, here's the point. Even healthy young patients who can fight off more serious illnesses, most serious illnesses, they also will have a high death rate. It's been engineered that way. Let me tell you in a nutshell how it is. It's a 1-2 punch. It's a bam bam. Now if you ever box, well, if you're ever a good boxer, you know you've got to throw 2 punches at a time. The first punch is to disorient your opponent. And the second punch is to knock him to the ground. It's a 1-2 punch with the Ebola. It's been designed that way. First it causes the massive inflammation and the hemorrhaging, and then it depletes the body of vitamin C so that the body cannot recover. It's been designed as a 1-2 punch. And any professional boxer knows that you're never just get out of the clear blue gonna, KO somebody. You got to use at least 2 punches. One to disorient them and another one to knock them down. Or 3 if you have to. There's another secret about boxing I should tell you, just since we're on the topic. Don't be afraid to get hurt. Because you'll never win a fight if you're afraid to get hurt. Just like I'm not afraid to get hurt by any of these ministers, because I've got the truth and I know how to fight on my side spiritually. But when you go into a boxing match, the other guy knows how to box, So you shouldn't be thinking that you're, never going to get hit, but here's what you think. You think, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to come in on him, and when I come in on him, he's going to hit me, and it's going to hurt. But I'm prepared for that, I expect that, and I'm going to hit him harder. I'm really going to KO him. So I go in expecting to be hit, and I'm prepared to hit even harder. But if you've got a guy who's just dancing around and not going in to do any serious damage, he's going to lose. It's only a question of time. You can only block so many punches. So here's a little boxing lesson for you. Go in at a time when you see the other fellow is not planted firmly on his 2 feet so that when he does hit you, it doesn't do much damage. But your 2 feet are planted and you just nail him. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting, eh? Well, that's how you deal in a fight. You got to prepare to get hit. You got to know what your enemy is capable of. And your enemy is going to kill 90% of the Americans. Because your enemy is the shadow government that doesn't have enough troops to control 90% of the people. So they've got to kill 90% of the people. It's all planned out. Got a whole bunch of papers on this. I wonder if I should spend any more time on this. It's going to happen. Script's already written. We know what Revelation says, even before the day of the Lord. So where are we right now? Well, we're in Matthew 24, 7 and 8. We're not even into Revelations yet. There'll be famines, pestilences, well, here comes Ebola, and earthquakes in various places. All these things are the beginning of sorrows. Right? It's the beginning of sorrows. So we got these infectious diseases and these bugs and parts of the beast's plan to kill us all off. Just the beginning of sorrows. Just wait. Just wait. It's getting worse. Much worse. And the shadow government, which, by the way, owns all the politicians, They're all owned by the shadow government. They're all owned by the lobbyists. and all the judges are owned. All the judges are owned. I was part of a $3.7 trillion T with $1 trillion lawsuit. One of the largest lawsuit in the history of the United States, and you don't hear a thing about it on the news. $3.7 trillion lawsuit. Well, the judges threw it out of court. But we had all the substantiation. It's like Clarence Darrow said, there's no justice inside or outside of court. But they made a back deal to pay us off at a later date. Well, we'll see what happens. Could that be God's plan for giving me the money? And I would come out with billions of dollars from this $3.7 trillion lawsuit. Could that be part of God's plan to give the obedient Church of God the funds to do the final push of the end time work? Interesting. But these elitists control all of the courts. They control all of the politicians. And they control all of the army. And anyone in the army who doesn't do what they say gets fired. That's why the admirals got fired last year, because they wouldn't detonate a nuke over Charleston Harbor. That's right, a nuclear device, an EMP over Charleston Harbor in order to wipe out the whole East Coast. The admiral did not detonate it. He towed it out. He dropped the nuke out 600 miles off the East Coast. And there's seismic evidence to show that a nuclear device was detonated 600 miles off the East Coast, right where the admiral said he dropped it. These elites wanted to collapse the system way back last year. They've all got their underground bunkers, their underground cities. Well, they're going to kill us. They're going to kill 90% of us so that they can control the balance of us, so that they can control the 10% that are left, so that we can be their, servants, so that we can work for them, so that we can be so grateful that we're still alive when 90% of the others are dead. So now you know the whole story, the big picture. The Ebola is deliberate, because they don't have enough bullets to kill 90% of us. So they've got to use a disease pandemic. These satanic Illuminati leaders, they're all Illuminati, all of them. Go onto our internet site, you'll see their pictures of the two-fingered goat sign, all of them giving it, all of them. Well, they want to kill us. And they are going to kill us. But some of us will be in the place of safety. Some of us will be protected by God. And those will be God's precious jewels. God's precious jewels, who he will polish in the place of safety. Now the rest will be the guests at the marriage supper, because they didn't provide themselves with a garment. So God gives the bride one. The bride makes herself ready. That's the bride. The guests are given a garment because they didn't make themselves ready. And the third group, that are only half full of oil, are thrown right out. So you want to be the bride? You better make yourself a garment of worship on God's new month day, and keeping the feast 3 times a year, and keeping the 4 fasts of the Lord. And go to our internet site and see the totality of the 7 points. And there's 130 points also, see them. So that you can be in the place of safety, and that you will not be an Ebola victim, and that you can be the bride of Christ, and teach others in the millennium, as the Bible states in Isaiah 66, that all will keep the new month days. And you've got to learn how to keep them now so that you can teach others in the millennium. May the Lord be with you. Amen. Yes, it's a shocking era that we are having to live through. It is the time of the end. The 7 years have not started yet. Have not started yet. But you'd better make yourself ready, because you can't have your own ideas. You've got to have God's ideas. Everything that you find in the Bible, do. And you'll be in good stead, because that shows your love for God. So all please rise for the last hymn. I hate the thoughts of vanity. I hate the thoughts of ministers who make up all this nonsense to wiggle around Ezekiel 46:3. Psalm 119. I hate the thoughts of vanity, but how I love thy law. Sing it. Now let's try this again. 92. I hate the thoughts of vanity. Standing for the closing prayer. Arms raised, head bowed in humility, eyes closed in sincerity. Almighty Father, you who know the end from the beginning and have portrayed it in your book of Revelation, where 90% will be killed, states that in your word. 90% will be killed. Help us in the obedient Church of God to be protected from the Ebola and all the other machinations of Satan, so that we can prepare a people for you in the place of safety, who can teach your new moon day in the millennium, because we humbly have practiced it. Father, we thank you for the obedient Church of God. We thank you for the knowledge you've given us. We pray that our minister associates would repent, but let this be a witness against them if they refuse. We wish the best for them. Please grant them repentance. Be with our brethren in Pakistan who are waiting till tomorrow for New Month Day as they obey your law. Now, protect us, especially in the United States, from the TSA, the state troopers, the county sheriffs, the city sheriffs, the roadblocks where you can't even travel. It's unbelievable. And 500 people get shot a year in the United States, murdered by police, so please protect us from the police. So now we look forward to meeting together with you again on Sabbath in just 5 more days. So thank you so much, Father, for this new month day that we have time to be with you and Yeshua. And we ask this all in Yeshua's holy righteous name, our soon arriving King and ruler of the earth. Amen. Yes, doesn't get any better than that with Yeshua ruling. And unless the Lord shall build a house, the weary builders toil in vain. And that's the broadcast for today.